Dr. Todd didn't hold back in Emmerdale as she confronted Jacob Sugden, launching into a furious rant about her supposed worth as a doctor in an attempt to pressure him into withdrawing his complaint. The ruthless doctor, as viewers are aware, has been making Jacob's life difficult for months, using her role as his mentor to undermine him at every opportunity and make him question every decision. Jacob has been working extremely long hours to support his wife Sarah Sugden as they prepare to become parents, but this has been made even harder with Todd constantly on his back, setting unrealistic targets and criticizing him even when he does well. Tired of the constant mistreatment, Jacob went to HR earlier in the week to report Todd's behavior, hoping to stop her from bullying others the way she has targeted him. Todd grew suspicious when she spotted him leaving the HR office and questioned him, prompting Jacob to lose his temper as he finally spoke out about no longer tolerating her misuse of power. However, the situation soon shifted when Todd was called upon to assist Charity Dingle, who had given birth to Jacob and Sarah's baby in a lift at Houghton General. With no other doctor available, Todd carried out the procedure and managed to save Charity's life. Jacob later thanked her for what she had done, but Todd saw it as a chance to regain control, using manipulative tactics to suggest he would be responsible for future deaths if her career was damaged by his complaint. Horrified, Jacob pushed back, insisting his complaint was meant to protect future talented doctors from being crushed by her behavior. He accused her of driving away staff in already understaffed wards, asking how many professionals she had pushed out over her long career, suggesting it could be hundreds. Todd dismissed his claims and called him weak, but Jacob stood firm and refused to retract his complaint. At first, Todd seemed unsettled, but her mood quickly changed when she uncovered a major revelation about Charity's baby, realizing Jacob and Sarah are not the biological parents. The question now is what she plans to do with this new information, or more importantly, how she might use it against Jacob in their ongoing conflict. Emmerdale viewers noticed a subtle nod to Emma Atkins during Charity Dingle's intense birth scenes inside a hospital lift. Charity has spent recent months juggling secrets in order to keep the truth hidden, after her one-night stand with Ross Barton led to an unexpected pregnancy. The complication wasn't just keeping it from Mackenzie Boyd, but also from Sarah and Jacob Sugden, whom she had agreed to act as a surrogate for. Believing it was for the best, Charity chose to continue the deception, allowing everyone to think the baby belonged to Sarah and Jacob, rather than herself and Ross. After organizing an elaborate baby shower for Sarah to celebrate the upcoming arrival, Charity and Mackenzie rushed out to collect the cake. But the situation quickly changed when she unexpectedly went into labor on the roadside, with both of them without their phones. In a classic soap twist, Ross Barton happened to find them and after some hesitation agreed to drive them to hospital while trying to alert Sarah about what was happening. Once at the hospital, the trio got into the lift heading to the maternity ward, but it malfunctioned, leaving them trapped inside. As Mackenzie panicked due to his past trauma, Ross stepped in and helped deliver the baby. After baby Leyla was born, panic set in when Charity became unresponsive and started bleeding. When firefighters forced the lift doors open, Dr. Todd arrived and quickly took charge, rushing Charity to surgery after passing Leyla to Ross. Despite the dramatic and emotional scenes, sharp-eyed fans spotted a touching detail. The lift displayed the name of Emma Atkins as part of the company branding, which many interpreted as a subtle tribute to the actress. Paddy is still facing the terrifying possibility of prison next week in Emmerdale, and a careless comment from Mandy Dingle only makes things worse. From the moment Paddy learned that his father Bear Wolf had become caught up in Celia Daniels' horrific human trafficking and modern slavery operation, his life has been turned upside down. With Celia and her son Ray Walters also exploiting Paddy's close friend Dylan Penders within their criminal network, Paddy was dragged deeper into the situation when he tried to rescue Dylan from being killed by Ray and nearly lost his own life in the process. Bear stepped in during the chaos and accidentally killed Ray, a moment that changed everything. Paddy and Dylan then helped conceal Ray's body in an attempt to protect Bear from facing consequences for killing the wrong man. However, overwhelmed by guilt and trauma from his experiences, Bear later confessed to everything. Wanting to protect his father, Paddy and Dylan also admitted their involvement, and both were charged with perverting the course of justice. Since then, Paddy has been increasingly anxious about a potential prison sentence, while also worrying about Bear, who remains in custody on remand. His mental health has suffered, and after recognizing how similar his current state is to a time when he struggled with thoughts of self-harm, he confided in his friend Marlon Dingle for support. Together, they discovered Ray's bank records, which helped free Moira Dingle, but instead made Bear look even more implicated in the wider criminal scheme. The evidence suggested Bear had been storing illegal money in an account linked to him, raising suspicions that he was actively involved in Celia and Ray's operation. Next week, Paddy's daughter Eve Dingle becomes distressed by rumours surrounding her father and the looming court case, prompting Paddy to explain the situation to her. Devastated, Paddy admits he could go to prison for his part in protecting her grandfather, leaving both father and daughter emotional as she pleads with him not to leave. Seeing Paddy in such distress, Mandy suggests that he might be better off letting Bear take the blame in court so he can escape the fallout. The suggestion leaves Paddy horrified, and he storms off in shock. Although they later make amends, with Mandy promising to stand by him no matter what happens, Paddy is left deeply fearful about what the future may bring. Ross Barton is left overwhelmed in Emmerdale as he finds himself increasingly drawn into baby Leyla's life. When Charity Dingle agreed to act as a surrogate for her granddaughter Sarah Sugden and her partner Jacob Gallagher, few could have anticipated the chaos that would follow. Anyone familiar with Charity's history, however, might have expected trouble, given her tendency to end up at the centre of disaster. Sarah's medical condition, Fanconi anemia, meant she was unable to safely pursue traditional adoption or pregnancy, while an emergency hysterectomy ruled out her having children naturally. In response, Charity stepped in, and after 2 rounds of IVF, it initially appeared the plan had succeeded. However, things were far more complicated than they seemed. Charity was already pregnant, and the baby was not fathered by her husband Mackenzie Boyd, but by Ross Barton after a drunken encounter. When Ross learned of the pregnancy, he immediately suspected he could be the father and demanded a DNA test. Charity, unwilling to let the truth surface, manipulated the situation by providing false results, while privately struggling with the reality that the baby was indeed hers and Ross's. Charity later confided in Chaz Dingle, who reluctantly agreed to keep the secret despite her anger at the situation. Vanessa Woodfield, however, revealed the possibility to Mac, causing further tension when he tried to expose everything to Sarah and Jacob. Charity stopped him just in time and insisted on another DNA test, knowing he could not be the biological father. Ross had already worked out the truth for himself, realizing the baby was almost certainly his, though he chose not to expose Charity at that stage, despite threatening to do so. During a dramatic turn of events, Charity went into labor in Mac's broken-down car. Ross helped get them to hospital, but they became trapped in a lift where Charity delivered the baby, before suffering severe bleeding that required urgent treatment. Now, in the aftermath, Jacob and Sarah are overjoyed as they bring baby Leyla home, named in memory of Jacob's late mother. Meanwhile, Ross and Mac visit the family, with Ross visibly emotional after seeing the child. Jacob even encourages Ross to hold the baby he helped deliver, and later invites him to a family gathering to properly celebrate Leyla's arrival. But with Ross clearly struggling to control his emotions, questions remain over how long he can stay distant. As he grows more entangled in Leyla's world, there is a looming fear that his presence could eventually shatter the fragile peace within the family for good. Emmerdale airs on weeknights at 8 p.m. on ITV1, or you can stream it from 7 a.m. on ITVX and YouTube.